what we call fact, to know a fact, means that it must be something which repeats. We couldn't know anything in that way. We couldn't know any facts unless they were reproducible. If it only happened once, if it was completely unique, we wouldn't be able to talk about it, because all we would be able to do would be to compare it to things that do repeat, that we do know about. On the other hand, when we talk about judgment, we are not limited in the same way as we're limited in the world of facts. The world of facts has to do with limitations and conditions. So we can say the world of facts is a conditioned world. So we have this and this and this must happen in order for this and this and this to happen. And if these conditions are not met, then we can't have this thing existing or happening. When it comes to the world of judgment, we're not limited in the same way. So when we decide, or when we judge something to be beautiful, that has nothing to do with the world of fact. That's the judgment we make, and we're quite free to make any judgment we like in whatever way we want. So judgments such as that is beautiful or that is good, these have nothing to do with repeatable facts. The experience is what happens, and all experiences are unique. They're not repeatable, not in the same way. So when we have an experience of something which is beautiful or something which is good, or whatever judgment you want to pass on it, then what you've got is an insight into the non-factual world, which we also live in, but we try to reduce the non-factual world to the factual world. It has nothing to do with, anything I do. I don't do this. This is something which I do my best to allow to come into being. But it's not mine. I mean, I have no ownership on this whatsoever. It's beyond that. It's completely beyond that. I mean, I have to package it up and I have to sell it and I have to play that game. But of course, it's not in an ultimate sense. In a relative sense, yes, it's my product. But in a non-relative sense, no, of course, it's not. Because creation belongs to nobody. Creation is beyond life. It's not a part of life. It's something that comes outside of life into it. It manifests in life. That's what creation is. It's the bringing into life something which was not there. Now, there's different ways there's involution and there's evolution. One way to give a very brutal version is the sexual act. The sexual act can be creative, but that creativity can either go upwards or downwards. And if it goes downwards, it becomes a child. That's a manifestation of the creative. Something comes into the picture that couldn't have been predicted, but it doesn't move up. It moves into the same world. Whereas there's a kind of sexual relation which is not part of that, which is dedicated to something which is bigger, not less, than the sexual act itself. But it's this simultaneously looking backwards and forwards at the same time. And that's something we're not trained to do. At the same time, as I mentioned before, microscope and telescope, having a wide angle lens and a microscope at the same time. Being able to do both at the same time is, I'm not going to say it's the same, but it's very similar to this idea of holding two things together in your mind that shouldn't be there. They should not be. They are illogical. They are impossible. In the world of fact, the possible is what is conditioned. Right? If we're living in the world of fact, we cannot have things which are not reproducible, and we can't have things which are predictable because of other things being reproducible. Right? So what we call possible is in the world of fact. In the second realm, there are no conditions. That's really what is meant where we're going to do the impossible. The impossible is the stuff which is not conditioned by the world of fact. Because in a very real sense, it doesn't make sense from that world. It can't make sense from that world. And you might argue, and I think there's a lot of truth in it, that modern science is an attempt to reduce everything to that world. That's why it says, oh, that's impossible. The reason that it's impossible, which they mean it can't happen, right? That's their meaning of the word impossible. I'm using the word impossible in the sense of it does exist, it can exist, and will exist, but not in the world of fact. So what is possible is not just what the world of fact says is possible. It's a different way of looking at it. Now, you cannot only judge things by data. Would that be enough for you in your life? No, because you would judge. And judgment is all about the impossible. It's nothing to do with facts. It has nothing to do. We dress it up like that, and we say we make decisions based on facts, but of course we don't. So the third realm is the truly impossible from both worlds. But you wouldn't want to just live in the world of experience, where every single experience was completely unique. That would get very, very tiring very, very quickly. You would have your world would mean nothing, basically. And you wouldn't want to live just in the world of facts, because then there would be no point. There'd actually be no point. The thing that wraps it all together is the third unknown. Once you have come to terms with that, now you don't need to have done anything, but once you've actually assimilated that as well, because each step builds on the last step, right? They're not disconnected. They're all intimately connected in both directions. You have to receive something. Right? So this space has been created. You think in the beginning that this thing which has been destroyed is some kind of external space for the most part, but it's not. It's in you. And once that internal space has been assimilated and service is now the whole raison d'etre, the whole reason for your being, then something can be received. Something you did not have before, in name only, because you already did have it, but because we are so ignorant, we'll call it receiving. Right? It's just another word for discovery, basically. So this can take all sorts of forms, this reception. This can be all sorts of, messages from certain objects that we talk about. It's like, oh yeah, that pen was really talking to me. It was really speaking to me. And again, this is not to do this process. This is evidence about this. Again, the title has evidence pertaining to the Creator. And the Creator is not you. Again, we don't see the murderer. We see what's left over after they have committed the act. In a very real sense, you can say Western culture is the evidence. It's not the creative thing at all. It's the evidence that's left over. It's the crap. It's the crap that's left over. And when we put it on a pedestal and we spray it with gold and we sell it on eBay, you know, but it's not. That's not it.